Hey everybody, it's BDF44 coming at you with another video, and I've saved the best for last. This is my prediction series, playoff prediction series, and I've run through every matchup except for the matchup that I know means the most to me, and that's the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Phoenix Suns. Now, I can make a million videos on this, attacking different angles, because obviously this is my team. So, as you know, I know more about this team than any other team in the league, and probably will make more than one video on the various games as this progresses, depending on how much time I have. So bear with me. I might get a little annoying with this series, but this is what it comes down to. This is the truth here. There's not enough size down there for Phoenix, man. They just don't have enough size, bro. Honestly, they just don't have enough size. This is the same problem the Washington Wizards are going to run into with the Philadelphia 76ers. You got a team, you're playing great. You got guards that are going to just eat all game long, no matter what. Chris Paul and Devin Booker. I've gone on record saying I wouldn't be surprised if Devin Booker has another one of them historic games somewhere in these playoffs, because it's the first time he's going to get a chance to play in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. And he's built for clutch moments. He's one of those guys where you could totally see him hitting a 30-foot game winner to end the series. Like, he's one of those guys, right? So there's no question about whether or not the Lakers are going to have the hands full with their guards. We've had trouble guarding guards recently because Dennis Schroeder has really struggled guarding guards, basically. But we do have a guy like Alex Caruso, who I trust a great deal, who's continuing to show us that he's an elite role-playing guard in this league. So I'm happy to have him down there. But he's just one man, and we're going to need more than one man to play elite defense for us to really neutralize the likes of those guys. It's going to be tough. So I like our KCPs out there. We got THT. We got several guys who are capable of playing defense. They're going to be very important for us. Obviously, Wesley Matthews, who the coach has been calling his number lately, I think he's going to be important in this series as well. We're going to have to figure out, the Lakers are, we're going to have to figure out how we stop Chris Paul and Devin Booker. Because one way or another, you have to stop those guys. And you can add a third name to that list as well, Mikal Bridges. I look at him as another guy who has all-star caliber potential, two-way player, a guy who can't leave in the corner at all, a guy who can create scoring opportunities for himself. And I'm not sure if he creates for others. I really do not know. But I definitely am certain that he can hit a three, play some D, dunk a ball, and all that good stuff that you want your small forward to do at a really high level. He's a very, very talented kid. So that right there tells you that Phoenix is going to have a lot to throw at us. They're not in the second spot by happenstance. They put themselves there by playing great basketball all year long. And if you don't bring it, they will steal games from you in the series. Facts. So I don't expect the Lakers to sweep the Phoenix Suns by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I do not think this series is going to be a short series. Chris Paul is too dominant of a player, and the Lakers have been missing guys too much recently for this just to be a sweep, easy peasy. Nah, that's not how I see this going. Fact of the matter is, AD is back and he's healthy. They don't have an answer for that at all. I like DeAndre Ayton quite a bit, and I think he's going to be very, very important. He's going to have to dominate in order for them to win games, and he's capable of that. Thing is, he's got to deal with Andre Drummond, Anthony Davis, obviously Marc Gasol, if we throw him out there, Montrezl Harrell. We just have a lot of big humans. Obviously Kyle Kuzma, LeBron James, obviously. They just got a lot of big people. And although the Phoenix Suns do have some size, unfortunately the size that they have is not talented enough to do what it needs to do to win this series. And that's what it really comes down to. This is a bad matchup for the Phoenix Suns. As good as the Phoenix Suns are, they simply ran into a team that they match up poorly against in the first round. That's what happened. And they're going to get knocked off. I don't expect to see any surprises here. Even though I would say that the Phoenix Suns are going into these playoffs playing better than the Lakers, they are. At the end of the day, those little people that they have running around who are going to do all their heavy lifting, it's not going to be able to withstand Anthony Davis and LeBron James effect. There should be no reason the Lakers lose the series. The only reason the Lakers lose this series is if they just don't bring the intensity necessary to win it. I mean, and it's possible because they have had guys that were hurt. You know what I mean? Let's say LeBron goes down with a tweaked ankle. Let's say AD goes down with a tweaked ankle. Now you're looking at a series that Phoenix can win. Okay? But anything short of that, nah, it should not happen. It's a terrible matchup for Phoenix. When you put yourself in a position to be the second pick in the second team in the playoff seeding, your hope is that you're running into a team that is significantly worse than you. That's what the playoffs are supposed to be about. You've worked this hard to be one of the better teams, have home court advantage. Chances are you should be going up against a team that's going to struggle against you. But the way the playoffs is set up this year and the way that the season has gone with condensed season, you got players being removed from lineups, sometimes not even for injury reasons this year, affecting how many wins teams get. You have seeding that doesn't represent the actual reflection of how the team is going to be when you see them. You're seeing that in more than probably half of the matchups in these playoffs, where you just have, fake records, basically. The Phoenix Suns are not as good as their record shows because the field has been depleted to a degree with what it is I just described. So even though Phoenix is really good, they didn't have to deal with a real Clipper team because the Clippers have been kind of fighting back from injury. They didn't have to deal with a real Laker team because the Lakers have been fighting back from injury. And so on and so forth. They didn't deal with a real Denver team because Denver's missing Jamal Murray. They didn't deal with a real Portland team because Portland was missing C.J. McCollum and Nurkic for half a season. This is one of those situations where even though, yes, Phoenix has done everything they could to get to where they are and they should be proud of themselves, the reality is if the field were able to just play healthy straight up, Phoenix would probably be 7th seed. I still think they make the playoffs, but they would come down and a team like the Lakers and the Clippers would come up. And this is one of those situations where things didn't remain as they were as the season progressed. Now the Lakers got all these guys coming back. Now the Lakers have Ben McLemore, a shooting dynamic that we didn't have at the beginning of the season. Now we got Drummond, another huge body rebounder that we can throw in there at random moments. Now we got AD back. Braun is back from injury. We didn't have those guys. So there was no cohesiveness with our offensive play. So it looked like we couldn't score. It looked like we couldn't defend. It looked like we had pieces that didn't fit. It's a lot of optical illusions based on who was missing and when. Schroeder's been out for the last couple weeks. So even when Braun and AD got back, we still didn't look that good because we didn't have that dribble penetration and floater presence that Schroeder provides. Now that Schroeder's back, he's kind of rusty. He doesn't look like himself. He's getting beat off the dribble because he's kind of out of shape from being out of the game for the last couple of weeks, sitting around waiting for the NBA to say it's okay for him to come back. A lot of this stuff has played into why the Lakers and other teams, a lot of other teams, look the way they do and are in the positions they're in. So what you have is a Laker team who, if the season were to be played all over again, will probably be the number one seed in the Western Conference. Going up against a Phoenix team who, if the season were to start all over again, will probably be the number 7 seed in the conference. So the realism of the circumstances are now in play. Your little fake records from this funny season and weirdo stuff that's been happening, all that goes out the window, and now you just have two teams going up against one another. And the truth about these two teams is this: Phoenix ain't as good as they are displayed to be, and the Lakers are a lot better than they're displayed as. So everything on paper tells us if the Lakers do what they're supposed to do, they should win this series in 5. I'm going to say 6 because I have that much respect for Chris Paul and Devin Booker as a tandem. And Ayton's going to be able to do enough to create foul trouble for our bigs to where they should be able to get 2 games out of the Lakers. I think the Lakers are dealing with a lot of injuries, obviously. We're dealing with a lot of stuff that I've already discussed. Players can run hot and cold on this team. We tend to go on scoring droughts at times, stuff like that. So I don't see the Lakers sweeping the Phoenix Suns. Probably lose a game in Phoenix, probably lose a game at home, that kind of thing. I got Lakers in 6. But I respect the fact that if our players play the way that we're supposed to play, and if we somehow snap into gelling like we usually would have if we would have played all season long, if we look like we've played all season long, Phoenix ain't going to win a game. Phoenix will not win a single game against the Lakers if the Lakers somehow just look like everybody's healthy and looks like everybody's been playing well together. The problem is that it doesn't work like that. You can't just do that. You know what I mean? There's going to be some bumps in the road. It takes reps and practice time to get efficient with one another, to get cohesive with one another. And we've just been lacking that. So I expect mistakes to take place. Turnovers, missed free throws, missed defensive assignments, things like that. Probably early in the series. Maybe game 1, game 2, Lakers struggle. I think as the series progresses, once adjustments are made, you're going to see the Lakers probably climb back into the series if they do find themselves down and ultimately win like 4 straight. But I would not at all be surprised to see the Lakers either split these first 2 games or lose both of them. But ultimately, as that intensity and that urgency starts to come about, when people start talking, Stephen A. Smiths and all them start talking, like, oh, the Lakers are down 0-2, they're going to get swept. That's when you're going to see AD and LeBron James just get it right. You're going to see guys like Schroeder, THT, Kuzma, all of them have their legs under them. That urgency and that NBA championship experience is going to start coming into play, and that inexperience for Devin Booker is ultimately going to come into play, and guys like guys like Mikal Bridges, who've never been in this situation before, things like that, it's going to come into play, and that lack of size, that's when it's really going to hit them. As the series starts to progress and guys like Ayton starts to wear down because they've been banging up against Trez and Drummond and AD for a couple games, you're going to see the Phoenix Suns wear down. That's what's going to end up happening. A big should wear them down if the Lakers are able to keep their bigs on the floor. Now, if the Suns are able to run small ball lineups that are effective out there and they force the Lakers to keep their bigs off the floor, that's probably the best opportunity for the Suns to win. Because as long as they got to have Drummond out there with Ayton, and you got AD banging with Ayton and all this, as long as you got to deal with that dynamic, Phoenix has no chance. This is one of the situations where you hope the Lakers are able to play their bigs. That's all I'm saying, because that's where you really have it. But, you know, if it comes out to a situation where the Phoenix Suns put a small ball lineup on the floor and string together 4 threes in a row, then you have to pull Ayton off the floor. Drummond off the floor, Trez off the floor, play small ball lineups. I don't like that for us. I don't like us trying to play small ball with them. Even though we can, I think that prolongs the series, and it takes away our advantage, which is our size. So we'll see. You know, I think our coach has proven he makes good in-game adjustments and game-to-game adjustments. So I'm going to be curious to see if we're going to miss Rondo's presence in the locker room these playoffs, presence in that regard, because a lot of what was reported was that Rondo would see certain things, tell the coaching staff, and we would adjust from there. I'm wondering if we're going to miss that presence in these playoffs. But ultimately, we do have a great coaching staff, including LeBron James, that should be able to bring forth whatever adjustments necessary. So that's what I think. I think the Lakers get off to a slow start. I do. I think the series starts with a slow start. I think Phoenix comes out firing. They're going to hit us in the mouth. That's what I expect to see. And I expect Phoenix to win the first game, maybe even the second game. But I'm telling you now that if the Lakers go down 0-2, they're winning 4 straight and this series ends in 6. That's what I see happening. I just don't think, even if Phoenix gets off to a hot start, even if, they're still going to have trouble dealing with our size as the series progresses. They're going to wear down. And that works in the Lakers' favor. So I hope I'm wrong. I would hate to see that scenario play out, as stressful and as nerve-wracking as that is. But I think the Phoenix Suns are simply playing better basketball right now. And the Lakers are going to have to adjust as the season progresses. And this is what I predicted last week. I said the Lakers are going to have to find a way to gel in the playoffs, as to where most teams were able to kind of have a couple games to come together if they were missing players. The Lakers didn't really have that. The Lakers and the Jazz particularly didn't really have that. Donovan Mitchell's going to have to find his rhythm in the playoffs, and LeBron James and Anthony Davis and Schroeder are going to have to find their rhythm in the playoffs. And I think that that's going to be okay for the Lakers ultimately, but it could serve for a rocky start. So that's what I got. Lakers in 6. Yeah, man. Thank you guys for watching. Looking forward to these playoffs. I'm out.